Hello friends, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, I have a treat for you. The wonderful creators at Artisan Tarot have recently sent me a small package for review. Now, just in case you don't know, Artisan Tarot is a wonderful workshop. They've created some wonderful reproductions of important antique decks. For example, the Conver, the Noblet, the Dodal, the Vievi. They've also done some new decks. For example, they have the Tel des Ambiguïtés. They have a new I Ching Oracle deck. They also have the two decks they sent me. One of them was a recreation of the what is his name? The Josef Jäger deck. And I've already done a walkthrough of that. And if you're interested, I'll put a card up here so you can hop on over later and take a look at that walkthrough of the Josef Jäger deck, which is wonderful. It's beautiful. They also sent me this interesting, intriguing deck called the Witch's Runes Oracle. Right? The Witch's Runes. It's an oracle deck. And just to let you know, this is way beyond my sphere of knowledge. I know runes. When I say runes, I mean the Futhark, right? The 22 runes from Celtic tradition, right? Starting with Fehu, Urus, etc. So I've studied them, and I have a sense of what they are, and I've used them. Witch's runes are something very different, and it looks like this is going to be a very intriguing deck. We're going to be exploring this together. What I will do is I'll open up the package with you. I'm told that there's a guidebook in here, so I'll read through a bit of the guidebook and we'll look at the cards together. Okay? So friends, if you're interested in this beautiful deck, also, there is a training course, a short training course at Artisan Tarot. So I will put a QR code here if you're watching on another device, and you can click on that QR code with your phone, or there will also be a link in the description box below to that free online course. I think it's one lecture about this deck. So friends, if you're interested in that, get the deck and study along with them. So friends, let's turn the camera down and look at this beautiful little deck together. Here we go. Friends, as I said, I know almost nothing about the Witch's Runes. Let me tell you what I do know. I do know that, as I said, they are not associated with a language as the Elder Futhark, for example, which are a set of runes, are associated with a language, or actually a set of languages. The Witch's Runes number, I think, is larger than the Elder Futhark, but we'll find that out together. I know that some people use the Witch's Runes in various formats in association with tarot readings. For example, they'll do a spread with tarot and they'll pull a rune to get another layer of information or a focus topic or something like that. Yeah, I know people use them together. I also know that they come in various forms. These are cards. I know that, or we will see that they are often also etched into stones, crystal, for example. And some people have them, as I remember seeing, sort of like the ohms, carved in wood sticks, and they will draw from a set of sticks. So these are cards, and we know that they're from Artisan Tarot, so we also know a couple of other things. We know that the cardstock is going to be magnificent. We know that they're going to be durable. We know that it's going to be beautiful production. We know all of those things. So let's look at the deck together. We're going to be learning together here. If you already know about the runes, this might not be the video for you. So, the Witch's Runes. Beautiful deck. This is the box. It's actually dark brown. I don't know if you can see that on your camera. The lighting in my office right now is a little sketchy. Nice box. It's a side tucks box. You can see here some pictures of stones with markings on them. And these, I believe, are the runes, right? They're painted on stone, and probably, I believe, the cards will have one stone on each, painted in a similar style. So here's the side. Here, let me put it upright for you. We see it's Artisan Tarot, first edition, 2024. The Witch's Runes, all rights reserved. I didn't mention the name of the creator, Jon Staint Germain. And we see it's 32 cards with a guidebook. So let's dive in. Opening the box, and here is the guidebook. Very handy. I love that the guidebook is the same size as the cards and the box, so it'll all fit together wonderfully. Okay, so the cardstock. This is what the backs... Now the cards are not landscape, and they go this way. Okay, so these are the cards. This is the book. This is what the backs of the cards will look like. I like that. I like them a lot. I like the Tree of Life there. I love the light and the cloud. We have the light and the dark. I'm not sure if these cards are to be read upright and reversed. We'll find that out together. I'm sorry, I think I just bumped the camera. So there was a title card here. Let's look at that together. Yeah? It says here, the Witch's Invocation. Okay, so just a moment. Let me get my pointer. I forgot to bring my pointer along with me on this journey, and I think I will need it. Here we go. So, the Witch's Invocation. The sun is for he. The moon is for, yes, okay, so I'm sorry. The font is takes a little bit of getting used to. So, the sun is for he, the moon is for she, the stone marked with it is for misery. The spears that cross stand for strife. The interlocking rings are love for life. The birds bring news, the waves will gather. The branch for new starts that matter. Okay? The snake will deceive, the wind will relieve. Some of the interesting, a few of these things sound like they echo Lenormand just a little bit. The scarab comforts all who grieve. The tadpole is about conception. Black and white tells you which direction. Brown, most important of all, is you. Will I rise or will I fall? Black and white tells you which direction. Brown, most important of all, is you. Will I rise or will I fall? Interesting. Okay, so here we are. The first card is the sun. And you'll notice, you probably noticed already, that we have some meanings in this invocation, right? Sun is for he, moon, she. Stone marked with it is for misery. It. Well, we'll see what that means. Maybe this is not it. Maybe this is something else. The stone marked with this thing is for misery. So, okay. Let's go into the book. What do we see inside the book? Paper is... Oh, it's good. It looked like it would feel like recycled paper, and it might be recycled paper, but it's a more durable paper than I first thought it would be as I looked at it because of the texturing on the paper. Yeah, Witch's Runes Guidebook, Artisan Tarot, Denver, Colorado, artisantarot.com. Written by Jon Staint Germain, illustrated by Christina Condor, of course, layout by William Rader, edited by William Rader, Z. Manzilla, proofed by Matthew Sims. Okay, so we've got an introduction. Let me see how long this introduction is. It's a little long, but let me read through this with you. The Witch's Runes divination deck consists of 2 sets of 16 cards. Okay. Each set contains 15 cards with stones and 1 card with a poem. You will only need to use one of these sets for the readings outlined in the guidebook. You can either keep the extra set as a backup or use one set at home and the other at your practice. Okay? Originally, these runes were inscribed on stones and cast for readings. We created this deck to read the runes using cartomatic technique. As such, this set of cards features depictions of the rune stones, along with their corresponding names and numbers. Moreover, these cards are convenient to carry and easy to see. They are easy to see. We based these cards on a set of rune stones known as the Witch's Runes. The earliest reference to the Witch's Runes is a wonderful book called Lid of the Cauldron by Patricia Crowther, published in 1981. She describes the Witch's Runes in Chapter 12, Methods of Divination. Okay, a description of her 8 runes and their meanings is in the next chapter. In the early 1990s, Carl Heron, a mystic known as Brother Shadow, created handcrafted props for occultists. Brother Shadow made several sets of hand-painted, hand-finished witches' runes, which included a booklet called The Witches Casting Stones of Bilitis. I don't know what that is. He didn't produce many sets, somewhere between 15 and 24, which would be 24, and every set was unique. Today, these are collector's items and fetch a high price if you can find anyone willing to part with them. Brother Shadow explained that he called his version Witches' Stones instead of Witches' Runes, because strictly speaking, the symbols written weren't runes at all. Runes are letters from a group of alphabetical systems common to ancient Germanic countries, also known as the Futhark. However, Patricia Crowther referred to them in her book as runes, and the name has stuck, so runes they are, and runes they shall be. Let's call it an honorary title. I described my additions to the Witch's Runes in my book, Lithomancy, Divination and Spellcraft with Stones, Crystals, and Coins. My version of the Witch's Runes, and upon which this deck is based, consists of the original 8 Witch's Runes and an additional 4 runes, plus a white, black, and brown stone for a total of 15 stones. I introduced these additional runes to include areas of discussion which, in my practice at least, are frequently encountered. I've also extended each rune's meaning to include topics and concerns relevant to our modern world, and contributed my own ideas on readings. When you interpret the runes, there will be times when you read them singly and other times when you read them according to their proximity to other runes. Now, how nearby runes affect their meanings. Okay, to better understand this concept, let's look at the meanings of the Witch's Runes and how to use them. Okay, so we've got then the meanings of the runes. And of course, I will not read through all of these. We go from the sun, I believe, which is number 1, to the last rune, which is the color brown. And then we have we have the Witch's Invocation again here. Now, and after that we have a section, more than half of the book, on how to give a reading, how to ask a question, how to use the cards, how to cast the cards, traditional card layouts, 1-card reading, 3-card reading, 2-card reading, etc. 4-card readings, 5-card readings, 9-card reading in a star pattern. It would be nice if they were laid out, but of course that would be eating up paper. Especially when we're talking about a 9-card and we're calling it the star rather than a box, which is what I'm more used to with Lenormand. But I'm sure this is described very well. Okay, so a 3-card reading. Then we have turning a reading into a ritual. So ritualizing the witch's runes, which is, I'm sure, very useful. And then we have an afterword. So what am I going to do? We'll flip through the cards and I'm trying to think, because I didn't really know that there were going to be 2 sets of the same cards. Let's see. Yep, here's the Witch's Invocation again. Let's see if there are any differences in the... Nope, there's no difference in the cards. So I will pull aside these 16 or 17 cards with the Witch's Invocation, put the 16 here, and let's take a look at these cards together. This is not going to be a tutorial, but let's read what we've got from the sun. Now, the rune shows a bright and radiant sun drawn in red and yellow. The sun represents virile male, or the questioner, if he is male. So this would be a querent card, right? Or a seeker card. The sun predicts success, positive gain, and successful outcomes. Very similar to the sun card in Tarot, right? So we've got a very detailed list of meanings here, not in keyword, but in full sentences. Very well described. And then we have the moon card. Now we've got a moon here with, I don't know, is this the earth beside it? We have 4 crosses within the moon. And this depicts the crescent moon drawn in white and marked with 4 crosses. A small blue and white circle is nearby, making me think of Earth. Maybe, don't know. Yeah, 4. The number 4 is for stability, right? Which is interesting considering we think of the moon as being the changeable one, right? Going through phases, through cycles. Okay, so the next card is, oh, look at that. Let's see if we got a pronunciation here. H. Okay, H is what it's being called here. The rune shows a stylized letter H, which I was calling it when I was reading the text, but it's not an it, it's an H. Again, like I said, the font, you've got to know the font to be able to read the text. The H drawn in these slashing strokes of red, green, and blue. So what do we think when we think of red? We think of passion, right? Blood, virility, life force. When we think of blue, we think of water. We think of emotions. We think of perhaps the spiritual. When we think of green, we think of earth energy, right? The flowering, verdant greenery of plants on earth. We think of abundance, perhaps even, or a harvest. So this rune shows a stylized letter H drawn in, yes, red, green, and blue. And yet this is called a sinister rune. Okay? This represents loss, setbacks, grief, and misfortune. The colors look very, very positive to me, and yet it is a sinister rune. It is widely believed the H derives from the Futhark rune Hagalaz, for me, which can mean destruction, right? The Hagalaz, which looks like this, and then the line going down this way. Interesting. Okay, so the next card is going to be 2 spears, a red spear and a blue spear. Now, in Korean, or in Korea, we, okay, let me begin this again. Westerners often know the term yin-yang, right? Yin-yang. In the Tao, we have yang being the active or positive or sometimes male force, and yin being the receptive, the passive, or the female force. And in the Taoist tradition, those are described in colors of black and white. And there's the circle with the two sections of curves, one black, one white. The black one has a white dot in it. The white curve has a black dot in it, right? In Korea, we use the colors red and blue. And when I say we, I mean we because I've been living here a long time. I'm from the United States, but in Korea, we use the colors red and blue for that same symbol. So seeing red and blue here, I think of active, passive. I think of male, female. I think of receptive, right? And the red would be the active, and the blue would be the passive. Here, this rune features two spears, one red and one blue, crossed together in combat. The spears represent arguments, conflicts, disagreements, and battles, etc. Can we just for a moment look at the backgrounds of these cards? I think they're brilliant. They're nicely textured. They are all... Are they the same? Just a second. They are not the same, I don't think. No, they are not the same. They are very similar, but they are not the same. So good. There's some variation there. I like the technique of the texturing of the background. I like the colors that they've used. I like that there's a border. The text on the cards is easy to read. All wonderful choices. Next card is the rings. When we think of rings in Lenormand, for example, we think of contracts and promises, right? We have a red ring and a yellow ring. Interlocking, right? And this ring, the rings represent marriage, union, and partnerships. Very much like a Lenormand deck, right? And here we have the birds. The birds in Lenormand are conversation, maybe nervousness, maybe chatter. And here we have three birds, blue, black, and red. And the birds warn that unexpected news is coming. So warn is pointing towards, so there's gossip, small talk. Okay, so very similar to the Lenormand birds card. And the next one is waves. What are we going to see about what waves? That's interesting. It looks like, to me, I see a bird. Do you see that? A body here with a big old head with an eye. Yeah? But according to the author, this blue bird on this pink background with the red dots shows a stylized drawing of waves, depicted in blue with a red dot on either end. The waves represent the effects that family, friends, or significant others have on the subject of the reading. Interesting. And then it gives us, it can predict travel when falling next to the sun, near the moon. It can predict a journey for a relative. So it gives combinations in here as well, which are good, because later on those are going to be helpful, I can tell. Branch. The next card is branch, and we see a red branch with green leaves on it. Branch would be maybe tree in the Lenormand set. Tree is health. The tree is heritage as well. Here we have the rune shows a young brown branch sprouting fresh green leaves growing in every direction. And originally the branch depicted an ear of corn and represented the season of harvest. Interesting. So I don't see anything here that makes me think of the Lenormand tree. Notice the lines here in the background. That's good. A nice touch. A very nice touch to the stone. When I say lines, the white lines behind the painted tree. Do you see those? There are 1, 2, 3 down here and 1, 2, 3 above as well. The artwork, the photography in this deck is just phenomenal, I think. What do we have next? It is the snake. And the snake in Lenormand can be temptation, it can be treachery, it can also be transformation, depending on how you read the card. Here we have a green snake with a red tongue and black eyes, forked tongue. The snake represents arrival, The Other Woman, very similar to Lenormand, or Being Jinxed. Interesting. Lovely colors in this deck. So, I mean, they're not beat you over the head, bright, bold colors. There's some bright, bold colors. This yellow especially is bold. But they're not. This isn't a deck of vibrant colors that is going to attack your eyes, which some decks kind of do. Not by Artisan Tarot, mind you, but some other decks might. This is the Wind card, and this might be a little difficult to distinguish from the Bird card because they're very similar, right? Let's take a look at that Bird card again. Where are you, Mr. Bird? Here. Okay, so the colors are different, yes, but we have a very similar shape, right? These look more like birds, but if you get confused it does have wind printed at the bottom, thank the Lord. But yeah, there's a similarity. I guess birds and wind do go hand in hand, right? We have yellow and red for the bird-like figures to me. The creator of the deck sees them as arrows, pointing in the same direction. And the wind represents impending changes, fate, karma, chaos. Yeah, I could see that. Wind stirring things up. I wonder is there a clouds card in this deck? I don't know. The next card is Scarab. Scarab. And we see here a stylized scarab of blue with red dots with a green dot on its head. And this rune depicts, ancient Egyptians considered the scarab to be a messenger to and from the afterlife. So it represents ancestors, the afterlife, spirits, or intuitive messages. And that's nice. Blue, intuition, the unconscious. Wonderful color for that. The next one is a tadpole, looking a little like a spermatozoa to me. A red spermatozoa with a blue head. Giving me the idea of the male and female. And this rune shows a red tadpole with a blue eye. The tadpole also resembles a sperm, okay, I'm glad that's acknowledged, and as such represents creativity in all its forms. Creative urge, desire to procreate, yearning for self-expression. Beautiful. Lovely deck. Lovely deck. And I'm not doing this very well, but here. This is the black card. I wonder what black represents to this creator. Considering it's just a plain monochromatic stone, it still has a nice texture with the light glinting off of the tops of the here and here on the stone. So it gives interest to the card. Again, very well photographed. The black stone is one of three without a rune. It primarily gives a no answer to specific questions or areas of concern. Negative factors, gossip, treachery, jinxes, etc. There's another card already in the runes that give those meanings, right? Which was the snake card. But we've got another one similar to that, plus the no card. So one would guess that the white stone would be the yes card, no? And you'll notice that we have some shadow here on the white stone. So it's not a monochromatic stone. We've got shading here. Wonderfully photographed. The white stone is the second of three without a rune. It primarily answers yes to specific questions or areas of concern. It might represent blessings, allies, positive influences. Okay. And here we have the last one, which is the brown stone. The brown stone represents the questioner, material concerns, or physical matters such as health, security, or self-esteem. Yeah, generally it can be the questioner asking a question about someone else, represent that person. You can ask the questioner to hold this card, and while you mix the runes so that it can absorb their essence. Okay, so there are uses for this card other than just the significance of the querent, the seeker. Yeah, there's health, security, self-esteem associated with this as well. And there are other uses. Right? That makes sense? So I think this, again, this is an interesting deck, an intriguing deck to use. With a little bit of study, I will go back and I will take a look at the course provided by Artisan Tarot. I deliberately did not listen to that lecture, that course on Artisan Tarot, because the way I figured it, coming in with a little bit of knowledge would be less useful than coming at it with no knowledge. But as they say, right? Knowing just enough to get yourself into trouble is not a good thing. So first, I wanted to do this. Then I'll go, perhaps hopefully with you, go listen to that lecture and then explore and experiment with this. Read the book, of course, the guidebook thoroughly. And I don't know, maybe I would be tempted also to try combining these two decks to see if the same stone came up twice. That might be a significant thing, or you know what I mean? I do that sometimes. If there are duplicate cards with a deck, I will sometimes shuffle those duplicate cards in because they can emphasize and give a more powerful message to those specific cards if they both come up together, right? So anyways, this is the walkthrough. I hope you found it helpful, interesting. I hope you go out and buy this deck and you play with it. If you already know about runes, tell us more information in the comments below. If you don't and you're planning on going to explore, let us know in the comments below. Maybe we can share our exploration of this deck together. I don't know how, but we can chat about that. So friends, here we are. I really highly recommend this deck because, shuffling. Let me show you how this deck shuffles with just these 16 cards, right? Here they go. So, doing the cut and overhand shuffle, yeah, I don't know. Such a limited number of cards makes it feel unimportant. Let's see how it does with a riffle. So that is unsatisfying. So probably what I would do is I would do some overhand shuffling. Now, the cardstock, like I said, is phenomenal. Do some shuffling, maybe spread the cards. I'm not a good card spreader. Yeah, I'm not a good one for fanning out cards. But here they are, and maybe I would take my pointer. No, I'll use my finger and I would go over here and see where the energy is drawing me. And let's ask a question. The question is, what would we benefit from giving our attention to now? What would we benefit giving our attention to now? And I'm drawn to this card. Okay, let's see what we've got. Okay, the branch. Very positive card, right? Let me read that a little bit in more detail. What do we have for the branch? Here. Okay, so originally the branch depicted, again, an ear of corn and represented the season of harvest. Unlike the H, which represents ruin, this most fortunate of runes predicts prosperity, happiness, growth, and luck. Well, good for us. To a student, it means success at school. To an entrepreneur, it means their business will thrive. Current projects will bear fruit, and new friendships will flourish. If near the rings, it predicts a prosperous marriage. If near the sun, success at a new venture. Next to waves, a prosperous trip. So, we've got prosperity, friends. That's wonderful. Congratulations. And friends, now, as always, in addition to prosperity, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.